Good morning. Hello. I'm Leslie.
I'm Stephanie. Good morning.
And we are from the Hand Readers Guild, and we are here today to talk about the Mound of the Moon. So before we get started, though, I want to just tell you a little about us. We started the Hand Readers Guild because we love hand reading, we love hand analysis, and we want to be able to share that with everybody. We want to share how much we love about it and all that it can do for you when you get to know yourself by learning about your hands and how to read them. So we have a series of these videos. You can see them on our YouTube channel. If you would go there and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a Facebook group, Hand Readers Guild Forum. You can come there, and we have lots of good stuff in there. And we do also stream these videos live there every Sunday morning at 10:30, or almost every Sunday morning. And we hope you'll either visit us there, you'll subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And I just want to say that we do these live, and we don't go back and edit them. So you get to see us in our natural settings. You get to hear our dogs bark. You get to hear us make flubs. And we're just kind of want you to get to know us the way we are. We're not going to try and be perfect for you, but we hope that you'll come and hang out with us anyway and see what you can learn. So let's get started and talk about the moon. So we're calling this Over the Moon because the moon is part of your hand, and what we're going to be looking at things are things that are sitting on the moon in your hand. So this is where the moon lives in your hand. It's the heel of your hand. So where we're looking is right down here. If we, I still haven't gotten this straight on camera stuff here. So it's the, towards the wrist and under the pinky. And if we divide your hand into a quadrant, it's the least active side of your hand. You're not doing much with that side of the hand. It helps you open jars, of course. But other than that, I'm not sure what else we use that for. I guess in martial arts, you use the heel of your hand for some things. I've taken a few of those classes.
A pressure point. It's a balancing area.
Right.
If you don't have it, you might not have the balance.
But in general, it's in hand reading, in palmistry, it's known as the moon. The mound of the moon is... it represents our gut instinct, being that it's at the bottom part of the hand, being that it's the part of the hand that is not very active. We think about it as the unconscious realms. It's your gut instinct. It's your intuition. It's where you would look to see how well your imagination is working. And it also is to some degree involved with your sexuality and your sensuality. What you can think of it is as the land of fertile creation. And if you know anything about the chakras, the moon corresponds to the second chakra. So let's get talking about what we would find on the moon. On the moon, you can see it can have lines, and it can sometimes have skin glyphs, which are like fingerprints. We're going to show you some of those. Or the moon can have nothing at all. This is a hand that has some lines. And in particular, it has something called a girdle. So, Stephanie, want to talk about the girdle?
Sure. A girdle in any area is about sensitivity and being sensitive to that particular area, whether you are overly sensitive or undersensitive or empathetically sensitive. It's all about the sensitivity. So this is about being sensitive about intuition, who you share it with, what you share, why, when, how. All of it is sensitive to your intuition.
So that's one of the kinds of lines we'd find on the Mound of the Moon. Stephanie, you're a little soft in terms of volume.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Might have to do that.
That's better. Okay. So sometimes the moon has a star. So a star in hand reading is not a 5-pointed star like you would draw like you learned to draw in grammar school. It is 3 lines that meet at a center point to create 6 spokes. So a star is considered a gift marking. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, the star, depending on where it lands in the intuitive moon area, there's different potentials. This is like a flash or a burst of energy in that particular area. And this particular star has been part of my family. This is my grandma's hands before she passed. And her intuitive star had flashes of intuition most of the time to get me in trouble. I'm sure that's not what it was for, but I got in trouble a lot because of that star. Uh, but I also gained a lot of wisdom from it. So that's more of the, they call that the archetypal star area. So you get your deep knowledge, your ancient ancestral knowledge in that particular star area.
Right. And when we talk about it being a gift marking, what that means is a gift by definition must be given. So if you have a marking on your hand that is considered a gift marking, its use is not optional. You are required to use it. And in the case of the star on the moon, which is where you have to use your intuitive abilities in some way, and it can be tailored specifically based on where the star is and what else is in the hand. But if you're not using it, you find yourself feeling stagnant or alienated.
Mm-hmm. Some people may feel depressed. Not everybody finds
Right.
that. And then some can just feel like it's just disappointment. Nothing's going my way, that kind of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily a punishment. It's basically the universe wanting you to feel the discomfort of not using your gift, so you'll do something about it and embrace the gift and go for it, because that's the only way out.
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, we talked a little bit. I mentioned that you can have a fingerprint type pattern in the moon. This particular hand has a loop pattern, and it is right at the end of the headline. If you look, there, we show it to you there with a little drawing. So it's just sort of ridge patterns that loop back around on themselves. Sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to train your eye to look for them in the hand. But this particular hand definitely has that loop there. And loops can show up there. They can show up low down in the closer to the wrist. They can face outwards. They can face inwards. They can face upwards. I've seen them in all different positions.
Yes. Yep.
So what's really, really interesting is when you find a whorl. So whorls, this right here is a whorl. Can you see my mouse moving over that? Yes, and then here's another person who has a whorl. I know at least one of these people has a whorl on this one hand, and on their opposite hand, they have a loop. So they've got one of each. So the whorl is particularly interesting because if you have a whorl on your mound of the moon, that elevates the moon to life purposed status. That means that no matter what, you are here to use your intuition as part of your reason for being here.
Yes. I would say, as an example, I don't know if he actually has one or not, but this might be a marking that Wes Craven, who said that all of his horror movies came from dreams, and he woke up in the middle of the night and would write them all down. And that's how he got Pinhead and all of his crazy nightmarish dreams made into reality. That's kind of what this particular marking kind of resembles, is you have to use your creative intuition for life.
Right. Yeah. It is part of why you're here.
Yeah.
There's no getting around it. Now, Another thing that you can sometimes see on the moon is what's called a composite whorl. Now, a composite whorl is a whorl. Instead of being a bullseye, it looks more like a yin-yang. And a composite goes in two directions. So in this case, it would move this way and then move back around this way. And it's a little hard to see, so I drew it for you here so that you can see it. But the composite whorl is especially one large as this, where it takes over almost the entire moon, and pretty much the entire moon. And I've had one or two, at least two different clients over the years who have this. This composite whorl, from a historical standpoint, and I'm not talking from necessarily a palmistry, but also from a medical standpoint, has been identified to show up in the hands of people who actually suffer from schizophrenia. So now, if you have this in your hand, this does not mean you are schizophrenic. It is not the only meaning. We don't have to send you off somewhere to get checked by a psychiatrist, because, as I said, I've seen other people who have, multiple people who have this, and they were definitely not all crazy. But what it can mean is that you have two very different sides to you. And it may be that other people don't necessarily see it very easily, because remember, this is in the moon. It's in the unconscious realms. So two very different ways of approaching things on an intuitive and spiritual level.
Yes, this is similar to when we discussed the simian crease and the medical information that we talked about in there. This is very similar to this, where it does show this marking, but it's not necessarily, but it is what is in your hands is in your life. So.
Right. That is the saying. What is in your hands is in your life.
It may not be you.
Right. So it definitely is a marker that you would have different sides to you. Very, very different sides to you. And sometimes maybe even feel your own self to yourself, that you can't make the two of them mesh. That one day you feel like you're going in one direction, and the other one you're like, okay, my Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde are up today. All right, let's move on to this hand. So what this hand tells us is that sometimes you can have both a loop, both a glyph, and a marking. So you can have a gift marking and a loop. So there's a little drawing that shows you where those are. Go back to looking at it without it. See if you can train your eye to kind of see it without the drawing. What do you want to say about this hand, Stephanie?
Well, that is, you definitely have intuition, not necessarily, or not just gift markings, but it is it's something that you have to do in your life. And you have flashes of intuition, that star, it gives you a burst of energy. So a burst of intuition when you need it most.
Right.
This is the listen to that, and you'll follow through pretty well. Your situation shall work for you if you follow your intuition.
Right. What I want to say about the glyphs, the loops, and the whorls and the composite whorls is that they are like fingerprints. They never change.
Mm-hmm. They will always.
They are with you from prior to birth, and they will be with you your whole life. Whereas the lines will change constantly. The lines are a reflection of how your brain is wired, and we have a plastic brain. We can rewire our brain throughout our life, and it does it all by itself, just through our experiences and our learnings.
Mm-hmm.
So the lines can change. You can actually lose a gift marking, but you will never, ever lose those glyphs. Okay, you can have multiple stars.
Mm-hmm.
This hand has multiple stars.
Again,
so
wherever they land is different bursts of energy or different flashes of intuition,
right,
in different realms. Mm-hmm.
Right. This hand also happens to have its head, part of its head, a branch of the headline that reaches down into the moon. And it's hard to see it, but down under here is a loop.
Yeah, I was going to mention that sometimes you cannot even see the dramatic glyph. The glyph is hidden under all of the other stuff that is there. And
I have a
it
loop,
could take years. I was going to say it takes years.
I have a loop on my moon, and I am a hand reader. And you know what? It was years before I discovered it.
Yeah.
Years, because it was covered in other lines. Speaking of which, our next hand is all about the moon being covered in lines. So this is what we call confusion in the moon area. So this hand is just got lines, 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 lines. This is a reflection of a nervous system that's got their switch stuck on high, particularly down in that moon area. And, you know, when I was a little bit younger, my moon looked a little bit like this, which is why I couldn't find my loop. Mine also happens to be kind of hiding near this very edge of my hand. It kind of comes from around the outside, way down here, and it's small. But it was hidden under a mess like this. Not anymore. But there we are. We have this little mess. So this is someone who, when they try to go down into their intuitive realm, will feel like they're like having to hack through blackberry bushes to figure out what they're looking for, or to listen to their still small voice. They're having trouble listening to that still small voice. And here's more confusion on the moon. In this person's case, there are actually stars hiding under there. Do you want to talk about that?
They have like moments of clarity, and they can start their creative process. And then it's possible somebody else goes, hey, you could add this. And then they take their, they might get confused. Which one is it? Is it mine or is it theirs? You know,
right.
That's a bit of confusion of, I have this creative energy, but I have too many influences to make it my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about intuition too. I have all this intuition. I don't know if it's my gut instinct or if it's somebody telling me that it's my gut instinct.
Right. Lots of energy going in every direction there.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly listening, but not always hearing.
Right. Or hearing and not listening. I do that a lot, so I'm guilty.
Okay. All right.
I hear you, but I'm not going to listen to you.
Oh, how funny. All right. So what we've got next is the opposite of confusion. It's the opposite of all those lines just completely covering the mound and the moon. And in this case, both of these folks have lots of lines everywhere on their hands, except on the mound and the moon. We have big blank spaces here on the mound of the moon, here on the mound of the moon. This person over here, their whole mound of the moon, they have a loop there, but look, it's like there's nothing going on here compared to the rest of the hand, which basically says that they have the kind of brain that's always active and going in many directions. But when it comes down here to that realm of intuition, there's just sort of this blankness. So we literally call it tundra syndrome. It's like the frozen tundra. When someone tries to go down and to listen to their still small voice, instead they just meet this freezing realm where they cannot see, hear anything, and there's nothing available to them. It's not that there isn't anything there. Obviously, that person with the loop is here on a lifelong mission of using their intuition, and yet all of those roads, those lines on the rest of their hand somehow don't manage to make it down into that realm.
Yeah, they look like they have a barrier with that. They both have a line that is a barrier from all of those other lines.
Right. Now, the
moon area.
The interesting thing about these two hands is they're a married couple. So these are the right hands of a married couple. And when I look at them as a couple and I see that both of them are suffering from tundra syndrome, I get the sense that they potentially have some unconscious agreement not to try and disturb those realms for each other. We're just not going to go there. It works for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the examples of moon activity we have to show you today.
Those are some examples.
Right. So essentially, what we've got here are some really good examples, but not everything that you could potentially see on the moon. There's other things that go on down there. We have the ability to see, sometimes there's boxes, like little squares, and squares are literally boxing in the energy. There can be something, there's a group of lines that are grouped together under the name Via Lascivia, which translates to the road to lasciviousness. There's a name for you. How about that? But they really, what they are lines that can show codependence. It can show addictions, which is kind of, I think, where that name mostly came from. What else does it show? There's another one. Allergies, actually food allergies even. Something as simple as that. And sometimes we're allergic to the thing that we can't stop eating, right?
It's a toxin. So it would be a drug or something, it's considered, if you're intolerant to it, then
right,
you're poisoning yourself.
Right. What other kinds of things do we see down there?
Oh gosh.
There's the crescent of intuition, which is similar to the girdle, but reaches more up into the conscious realm. There's headlines that end down there. We kind of showed you one just briefly, but that's a whole subject matter for its own video.
Right.
The line of Persephone, and maybe we'll talk about that soon. So stay tuned for that. Okay. So that's it for the Mound of the Moon. And like I asked you before, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up. If you want to learn more, you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you want to interact with other people who are interested in hand reading, you can join our Facebook group. Again, right there.
Right there.
And you can also just tune in next Sunday morning and see what we have to bring to you then. Until then, have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.